into my eyes. Your soul is stained by the blood of the innocent. Feel their pain.
This issue starts with the camera panning towards a decrepit building in New York. Someone says, "Lord, save me," as others shout many things such as ugly, don't look, deformed. He then says, "It's coming off." They continue, scared, hideous, not real, disfigured. His face, his face, his face. There, it's off. I said it's off. We see a hand holding up a mask. He yells at them to stop as the mask comes off. "Shut up or she'll make you all suffer even more." He asks if he should remove more of them. He says he took them off the streets to teach them not to mock him and to eliminate their lies. He says he shall deal with their blasphemy, and the pain and punishment will be much more sweeter than yours. As he says all this, we see it's the Hobgoblin, and even with the mask off, he looks quite demonic. He is surrounded by people hanging upside down, and they are stuck in some sort of substance, kind of like you see in a xenomorph hive. They still call out his looks. He asks why they must test him. He could kill them all in a second, yet he chooses to forgive them, all in return for their silence. Why must they continue to curse him? A woman with her son in front of him tells him that none of them have said a word. Hobgoblin calls her a liar and tells her to look and tell him what she sees. She says, "No, please, I can't." He doesn't like it one bit and says they all make him sick. She tells him not to hurt her child. "Can't you see the devil is controlling you? Blinding you to this truth, and you're too weak to resist him. That's why I must eliminate your kind. And your lies." She says in tears that she hasn't said a word. Such a pity, he says. "'Cause you had your looks of an angel. Oh, now you can look at me with the face?" He puts his hand over her mouth. "Do you see the truth?" He pushes her into a weird cocoon goop stuff. "Your kind is always blind, hypocrite, blasphemer. Only pray that he shall forgive you too." "Mom?" the boy asks. "What happened to Mom?" "She is in a better place," Hobgoblin responds. "But you, child, looked at me directly. You aren't afraid. There is still hope for this world. My efforts are not in vain." Hobgoblin takes the boy. "Come, you shall be my disciple. I will give you your strength, knowledge. Our mission is just beginning." And with that, the Sith Lord takes his apprentice. "I want my mom," the boy says. "Forget your earthly wants." Okay, not quite like a Sith. As he embraces the child in a creepy demonic hug, he states, "Our needs are far beyond those of mortals." We cut away to the house of Peter and Mary Jane Parker. They are sleeping quite peacefully with a certain amazing costumes scattered around the room. Brooklyn. We cut to a disturbing admittance as the spirit of vengeance dangles a man. No, not quite a man. More like a monster wearing the face of a man, high from atop a building. The man admits to disgusting, vile acts. He says they were street kids. Nothing special. He gave them a home and work. He asks if that's so bad.
"You stole their innocence, and when you were done, you stole their lives. That is a crime I cannot forgive."
The sick bastard goes on spouting excuses and bullshit, saying he did nothing wrong, saying that they were worthless without him, and his only sin is that he cared.
"You are sick. Now you must suffer for your deeds."
He drops the sick fucking, I say good riddance.
"Yes."
The writer spouts as the man falls to his doom screaming, yet possibly unfortunately, before he hits the ground, the writer catches him.
"You choose to hide behind lies and deceit. Now feel the anguish you have brought upon the innocent."
He delivers the penitent stare, and the man crumbles to the ground in shambles. The spirit has delivered his message. That was a heavy scene that came out of nowhere. Hopefully that didn't make anyone else uncomfortable. More to come! We cut away to the Parker residence with our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man trying to sneak out to go on patrol. And he's caught by his lovely wife, the wonderful Mary Jane. She scolds him for sneaking off and calls him a workaholic. He sees that as a compliment and gives her a big kiss and tells her that he's gotta run, but will try and squeeze her in for lunch. He swings off, gushing over Mary Jane, and then deciding to get serious for his superheroing. We cut back to the Hobgoblin, losing his mind if it wasn't already lost. Why? Why won't they stop cursing? Cursing me, he shouts. He says he was once a mercenary, a gun for hire, but now he is trying to forget that life and his past, and trying to ascend to something better. He leaves with the boy on a glider as he throws a pumpkin bomb towards the building he was just in, with all those people. As they fly away after killing all the people inside the building, he spouts, "Only the strong will live, but they shall bear the mark, showing they have changed their ways, showing their salvation." He states that they must find new quarters. Later we see police and firefighters at the scene. They state there are 12 dead with another 15 disfigured badly. While the officers are discussing what happened, we see the Spirit of Vengeance watching from afar. News reports abound discussing the horrible event as Spider-Man begins searching for Hobgoblin himself. We cut to a druggie in an alleyway about to do some coke. Are we sure this is a Spider-Man comic? Abruptly, he is yanked up with some webbing, and the coke is confiscated by Spidey. He bribes the druggie, saying he can have his drugs back if he tells him where Hobgoblin is. The man tells Spidey what he needs to know as he is webbed to a wall. Spidey then pours the coke on the ground and says he can clean it up once his webbing dissolves in an hour. As he swings away, the wind starts blowing it all away, to the dismay of the druggie. We cut to a man flying into a wall. He pleads to be left alone, as he told him where the gun shipment was and the money. The one he pleads with is Ghost Rider. And right now, there is only one thing he needs to know. And it's not about the gunship. He will deal with that later. All he wants to know right now is where is the Hobgoblin. Elsewhere, Hobgoblin is talking with the boy, telling him he is glad he's converted. He himself had fallen into sin once, but he feels he has turned a new leaf, a new purpose of dealing with those who have fallen from grace, and their voices who haunt and lie. He says the boy has shown him there is still hope, and will redeem his soul, and once done, the devil will not be able to get near him. He is interrupted by someone saying they have heard it all before. It's our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He says he is sick of psychos using innocent people to get to him. Hobgoblin calls him the devil, saying he has come to challenge his new allegiance. Spidey has no idea what the hell he's talking about. He tells the kid to stay put. Shockingly, the kid asks for the Goblin's help. The Goblin starts lobbing pumpkin bombs at Spider-Man, telling him to leave the boy alone, almost killing the boy with a bomb in the process. Goblin, are you nuts? Dumb question. Spidey web zips towards the Goblin, tackling him to a wall, and tells him he has gone too far. Hobgoblin just responds, "Why? Why won't you see the truth? Admit your sins!" As he blasts Spidey, he repeats and shouts, "Repent! Repent!" He starts blasting everywhere. The boy tells him to please stop. He then tells Spider-Man not to harm him as he hasn't done any harm. Apparently, he and the Goblin are best buddies now. Jesus, what the hell did you do to him, Goblin? As all this goes on, the Spirit of Vengeance races closer. Part 2. Spidey, in shock at what he sees, asking Goblin what has he done? Didn't you kill enough already? Are you that sick you'd maim an innocent child's face? The Goblin responds that his disciple has a mark of truth. He is now protected. He then asks the boy to tell him where his allegiance is. The kid goes on to tell Spider-Man that the Goblin is only trying to get rid of bad people and to help the good. He sent the boy's mommy to heaven. Yeah, that's messed up. Suddenly, the ghost crashing through the wall.
Evil, the beacon is stationed here.
Lucifer, the spider devil has sent for Lucifer himself! Ghost Rider does the Akira slide as Hobgoblin jumps in the air to dodge, and Spidey grabs the kid and gets out of the way. Goblin spouts that his faith shall be Satan's downfall, Satan being Ghost Rider in this instance. Ghost Rider calls him out on his bullshit.
Fool, I am a Ghost Rider. I protect the innocent from those like you. 12 people are dead. You will pay dearly for their crimes. Society cannot continue to live in fear of those who prey on the weak.
Spider-Man tends to the boy. making sure he is alright. The boy tells him to help the goblin, as he is his friend. Meanwhile, the goblin calls the writer a blasphemer, saying he is trying to trick him.
Your insanity will not help you. It's time to suffer for your evil.
Hobgoblin is offended at the idea of Lucifer calling him evil. He calls upon his glider and flies directly towards the writer. Ghosty not moving an inch, he catches it and immediately throws the goblin on his glider into a wall behind him. It's a spectacular crash. Spider-Man comments on how this is all getting out of hand and feels if he doesn't do something, they could all end up dying. So he enters the fray. The goblin uses his powers to create his own hellish demon glider. Just then, Spidey socks him right in the face. Then the writer tells Spidey to stand aside as he whips his chain around and attacks the goblin with it, almost hitting Spidey in the process. Spider-Man tells the writer that he's heard of his actions and doesn't want a rookie causing him headaches. The goblin wants him. He tells him to back off and give him some breathing room. He will ask if he needs any help. Ghosty tells him that he isn't the only one with power. Goblin seems amused by their arguing with each other.
Do not push me, Spider. The evil you seek to beat has far more resources than you will know. I do not wish to see you hurt.
Thanks for your concern, pal, but there is a little boy caught in the middle of all this.
The child?
Hearing this, the goblin goes ballistic. He tells them that the child is his and he won't let them convert him. He tells them to return him. Spidey tells the goblin to knock it off, as the building can't handle this and it'll kill them all if he keeps this up. Nobody seems to be listening to Spider-Man as the goblin is demanding the boy from the Ghost Rider. He threatens the Rider. Goblin flies through the ceiling, high into the air.
Do not try to scare me. Better than you have tried and failed.
Spider-Man finds the boy and tells him that they need to leave. The boy doesn't want to leave without the goblin. Goblin drops Ghosty. Spider-Man's Spidey sense goes off. It's the Rider plunging into the floor right next to them. As the Rider is getting up, Spider-Man tells him he is leaving with the boy, and if the Rider wants the goblin so badly, he can have him. He is going to get the innocent boy out of there. Spider-Man says he's here to protect the innocent. Spidey says he isn't very impressed with the Rider's results so far. At that moment, the goblin bursts through more of the ceiling, spouting off a bunch of crazy-ass nonsense about how they have pushed him to his limits and he and the boy will die for their cause before the likes of them will possess the goblin and the boy. He then gives them one last chance to repent. Ghost Rider thinks this dude is nuts. Spidey says he doesn't know the half of it. The kid tells the goblin to help them. Spider-Man asks the kid's name. He says Adam. How appropriate. He then tells Adam to stay put, not to move, and muscle, and he is going on the offensive. He jumps in on the ghost and the goblin duking it out. He dodges the goblin's blast to get a clean hit on him. The goblin knocks both Spidey and Ghosty back with his power. He then shouts, "Father, forgive them. They know not their evil deeds. It's time to take the boy, my disciple, and leave this house of horrors. Victory will be ours another time." Spider-Man shouts for Adam to run. Adam pleads for the goblin to stop. We see the rider is back on his bike. He revs his engine. The goblin speaks to Adam. "I'm sorry, my child, but we can never stop our cause. Our mission will forever be challenged. We cannot let our minds and bodies be weakened. Endurance and faith, they shall give us to a better world, a better way. Your mother would be proud of you." Man, if this was said by anyone but a murderous psychopath, I might find it genuinely touching. Okay, it was kinda touching, even for him. At least that part was. Adam tells the goblin his name. He hugs the boy, saying of course. He thanks his God for humbling him. He tells the boy that they will now leave and make a new garden where all things good will dwell and people will live forever. Adam asks if that's where he sent his mom. Hobgoblin tells him his mother wasn't one of them. He begins to pray. At that moment, we see the Ghost Rider racing towards them from behind. Spider-Man shouts to the Ghost Rider the goblin is holding the boy. The Rider unfortunately doesn't hear him as he crashes straight into the goblin. The boy flies through the air. Spidey tries to match his speed and catch him, but they are still flying towards the wall and are unable to stop. The impact is devastating. Spider-Man asks Adam if he's alright. He says only one word, "Mommy." At that moment, Ghost Rider again charges straight for the goblin. He gets off his bike and grabs hold of the goblin.
Feel what real power is, not some delusion of faith. This is real.
Suddenly, a webline snags the back of the rider. Spider-Man tells him to back off. The Goblin is out cold. He swings the rider away. He scolds the rider on his methods, telling him that they are supposed to be the heroes, and the cost of vengeance isn't more important than the lives they are trying to save. Why does this sound familiar? He says the rider was so blinded by his mission of vengeance that he forgot what they were supposed to be protecting. He says the rider is good, but he still has to learn the responsibilities that come with his power. That stopping creeps like the Goblin are important, but the main goal is to protect the Adams and the Eves of this world. He says Adam is going to need medical help. The Ghost Rider just tells him to find it. He then says someday Spider-Man won't be around to save the Goblin. Then he will have his vengeance. At that, he says goodbye and is off. We end the story with Spider-Man holding Adam saying, playing superhero isn't a game, it's fate. We choose to do good or bad, but we have a choice. Adam didn't. His mom is gone, but maybe they can find his father and help put his life back together. Now he must choose. Let this ruin his life or use it for some positive purpose. The decision, he says, will prove who is the real hero. Okay, I just have to get this out of the way. Yes, the art is excellent in this story, and the action is pretty badass, but the depiction of Ghost Rider here is way off. He is like a cross between Johnny Blaze's Ghost Rider and Dan's while leaning more towards Johnny's. Dan's Ghost Rider is shown on several occasions to be very cautious of innocence and danger, and yes, he can be pretty headstrong when it comes to vengeance and meeting it out, but not at the cost of innocent lives. Also, the scene where Spidey says Adam is going to need medical help, if this were written by Mackie, without hesitation, the writer would have taken the boy and raced him straight to the hospital. In this story, however, he's just like, do it yourself. That really bothers me. Again, there was a lot to like in this story, but especially after reading the last issues, there was only one time where he hesitated to save children over getting vengeance. And that's pretty much why I put this review after issue 9, as it kind of made sense, but if you go back to even issue 1, Ghost Rider stops dealing with the bad guys to rush Ralphie to the hospital. Okay, now that I've said my piece, this issue is pretty awesome. At this time, Todd McFarlane was already becoming pretty much a superstar when it came to his artwork on Spider-Man. He was about to leave Marvel Comics after doing Amazing Spider-Man, and they actually gave him his own title to write and illustrate. This title, of course. The problem I have with it is it's pretty hardcore and edgy for a Spider-Man comic, and I'm not saying that stuff can't be in a Spider-Man comic. It just kind of feels out of place at times. I really do enjoy this comic, though. Again, his depiction of Ghost Rider really bothers me. Also, at this time, Jason McIndale was the Hobgoblin, and he had basically sold his soul to a demon to become a demon himself. That's why he's the Demon Goblin. He slowly gets every now and then he gets possessed by the Demon Goblin, and that's what we're dealing with in this issue. They eventually do split up into two beings, and Hobgoblin, Jason McIndale's kind of able to get his life back, while Demon Goblin rampages through the 90s comics of Spider-Man for a while. He's always a really exciting character to see. I've always really liked the Demon Goblin. He just looks really badass, and I like his flaming glider. It's really cool. Anyways, this issue was fun and all. Ghost Rider's depiction kind of bothered me. The art, though, is absolutely stellar and fantastic. Todd McFarlane, fantastic artist. Whether you like him or not, you can't deny the man's art. Anyways, that's it for this issue.
I also want to thank, I think they're pronounced L Orchestra Cinematique, for giving me permission to use their version of the Amazing Spider-Man theme song. I asked them expecting a no, and I got a yes. And they gave me permission to use it, which I was really appreciative of. If you guys want to, you guys can check out some of their music. I'll put a link below. They're pretty awesome, and I was just really grateful that someone let me use their song.
In the next issue, we'll be going back to Johnny Blaze, and we will be sticking with Johnny Blaze until we finish, which I think we only have about 5 issues left of his series. Also, guys, please remember to like and subscribe if you like my videos. I'd greatly appreciate it. Alright, you guys take it easy and have a good day.